Hey everyone, welcome to the channel, All Things Middle-earth here with a video looking at 5 quality of life things that we need in the Rise to War before Season 5 starts. So stay tuned, all that's coming up in just 1 second. Okay, so these are 5 quality of life things that don't necessarily change the mechanics or structure of the game, but are just those nice little details. It's like when they gave the update to the resource search feature and they added the search for any tiles and you can search within ranges. Something that doesn't change how the game works, but it just makes it more enjoyable to play when you're trying to find a certain tile. You can do that. Little quality of life things like that, that as you play, you've probably thought of, man, I wish this was a feature. So without further ado, let's get into the first one, which is going to be leaderboards for keep takes after the first take. Now, what I mean is if you go to any keep that's been taken and you click the little trophy in the middle right here, it says first occupation and it shows the leaderboards for that first occupation. So Variags had this first. I don't see how or think it would be that difficult to add an option where there's a little arrow right here to show each different occupation of a keep. So you could actually look through and see the history of that keep, who occupied it, even if there was a feature where it showed how long they held it, so we could see how long Variags held it, maybe the timer, like how long it took them to take it from the first attack to finishing. So you could see if they took it really quickly and it was like 5 or 6 minutes, or we just took it and it took us, I think, over 30 because the siege took us a while. So you could even see, if you could switch the arrow and click on ours, you could see who contributed to the armies and to the siege and how long it took us on there. I think it'd just be an interesting thing to add a layer of something that's interesting for something as simple as a keep take, which is just PvE, but allowing people to see those things and feel like they're a part of or getting recognition for even just having, you know, their faction's name on that. I think that'd be kind of cool. I might be biased because I'm a big fan of leaderboards. I love running my Gothmog and siege units and all that stuff and trying to get up on the leaderboards, but something I enjoy, so I think it'd be cool to be able to hit the arrow and show each occupation for a structure, as well as some more details like how long it took to take them. But I think that'd be an interesting quality of life thing that wouldn't really change anything in the game. Now, number 2, and some of these might be repeats. I've videos like this, or just things we need in the game videos throughout the game's history. So some of these things are repeats, but I think some of them are a big enough deal that they deserve to be on here multiple times. And we have had things, I have to go back through and look, but we've had things that we've talked about on the channel that have been implemented in the game. Now, I'm not saying that it was solely because of me. A lot of players have, you know, commented in the Discord or reached out or done different things. So it's by no means just because I put it there that things have happened. But I do feel like keeping these things at the forefront of the conversation. So when players do have an opportunity to give feedback to the devs, they know what we're looking for. But the thing I would love to see is skill build presets. Just right up here at the top or wherever it would be, you can have buttons that you can set. So this would be my siege build, for example, with Gothmog, where I've got my 7 points into Grand, and I can click save custom build and I can type in siege, and then that saves one thing here. And then I can do, I don't know how many you would need to do because there aren't that many commanders, but on Gothmog, for example, this is the siege build I'm running. I would like to in the future start running a hybrid, still very heavy alchemist build that would do a lot of siege, but have a little bit of other tanky, like maybe berserkers and crushers or something like that in there, and run a second in command, the crippled build. That way for PvP, I could more quickly switch back and forth. Or if I'm sieging down a keep and I see another army is incoming, I could go to my Gothmog and say, okay, I'm going to switch him. I'm going to sacrifice a little bit of siege and switch him to my PvP build. I think it would just be interesting and allow you to get more use out of commanders, because there are some commanders that I use just for siege. And the only reason I don't really mess with the PvP more is because it's so gear specific on the siege, but also because switching the skill points back and forth kind of just gets old. So if there was an easier way to click and switch between builds, again, you could look at someone like Dwalin, who could do Heart of a Hero with his R5 and the Musician tree really, really well, but he runs the opposite 2 trees for PvP. So just a quick Heart of the Hero button and a PvP button for him would be very nice. Or you could look at any of the commanders like Gilgalad. You could say, if you knew for sure who you were going up against, if you've done your scouting, you're playing chess out on the board, and you want to switch some points into White Council, then you could quickly do that. It would just allow for those who want to be more involved in like the just, you know, quick action PvP stuff to be able to switch back and forth. I think it'd be interesting to see, but I'm not sure how that would fully work out or if that's something they want to do. But again, if they still want to charge 20 gems for it, I feel like it's something people would do. and they'd probably end up making more money off it like that. So just give us the option. If we want to use it, let us use it. If not, then people don't have to use it. I think it'd be a very helpful feature. The next one is going to become a bigger deal in Season 5, I think, unless they are going to address it. But if you didn't know, in Season 5, I'll go ahead and link the video up in the top right. We are getting elite units, and there are materials you need to gather to then train the elite units and elite skills and all that stuff. And a one way of getting that, in addition to a form of tips with the Master at Arms, is going to be sweeping units. And my least favorite thing, this goes for Heart of a Hero and for sweeping units, is when there are units out here and you click sweep and it says no linked land cannot sweep. And it doesn't make sense to me because we're not trying to capture this land. You're just going out to sweep the mobs there. So you have to either connect to it or choose to fight different ones. And for the most part, when people are sweeping, they're just going to ignore the ones that, you know, aren't connected. That's the same with Heart of a Hero, especially if you're in a less active faction and you just have one territory. There could be stuff all around you that's, you know, considered enemy territory that you're not able to sweep or participate in because you're not connected to it. So for Heart of a Hero, for mobs, I don't think it would really change the mechanics of the game to allow us to sweep. Just like the Yule Festival, when there's the 200 tiles you can explore, those could be enemy tiles, those could be your own tiles. You don't have to be connected to them though, because you're not actually trying to claim or occupy the tile, you're just exploring or scouting it. So I think being able to scout without having an adjacent tile makes a ton of sense, and especially with the new Season 5, where we're going to be, you know, scouting, sweeping mobs a lot. I think it makes a ton of sense to make that a little bit more comfortable. So if there are mobs in your areas, you can go for them instead of having to figure out what you're connected to or path around to then sweep. That's just going to be very tedious, and I think it's going to frustrate people. So let us sweep mobs without being connected to them. Now, this is one that I hear a lot, but I don't actually think it'll happen, but I think it'd be really cool. If we could just rename forts. My thought is if we could rename forts, people would probably just abuse them, and it would probably end up just getting more, you know, people are hurling insults through means of forts. But again, if I've got a fort here, I'd name Fort 11, and I decide this is going to be an area I want to do a little bit more int farming, and I want to name that fort so I know what it's for, this area. Maybe I'm looking at my list here and seeing what can I get rid of, and I've got, it's like, well, what's Fort 11? What's that? I could just do int exp farm and rename that, and it would be much more useful and clear what I'm using this fort for. Again, maybe it's just not worth the hassle because it's a really small thing, but I think it'd be helpful to allow players to kind of more organize the different structures and the forts they have. Or, you know, if you're like me, you like, you know, making all kinds of matching forts with people, and so doing sentences or phrases, and maybe you go over the character limit or you mistype or something like that. It's just a little like in the game thing that I like to do that's fun, and having a rename option, I would even pay 20 gems to rename, would just allow a little bit more fun or creativity inside the game going on. So a very, very minor thing, but if they came out and said, hey, 20 gems you can rename forts, I'd be like, all right, I'm going to do that once in a while. Not all the time, but a little bit, and I think it'd be kind of interesting. So come on, Netties, let us rename forts. I think it'd be fun. Let's try it. Let's try it out. If it doesn't work, you can take it away, but let us try it for a little bit. I think it'd be awesome. Now, the last one is a little bit more mechanical than not, but I still think it'd be a quality of life thing. And what I would like to see is some kind of mapping feature in the game where you can set a point A and a point B, and the game will show you what paths you can take. Now, not obviously just like a straight line all the way through, but I'm talking in areas where there are a lot of crossings and a lot of tunnels, and it's kind of confusing. And if you've not been down in these areas before, you could probably look at this and go, okay, I want to get over here to the west. I have no idea which way to go. And there are 45 crossings and 17 tunnels, and I don't know which ones to go through. And so it's a lot of scrolling around and clicking and seeing and going, okay, well, this one, no, I can't go this way because there's the river here. So I got to scroll here and look for a crossing. All right, there's not one up this way, so let's go back this way. But if I could set a thing and say, okay, I'm right here, and I want to get up to, let's say I wanted to get up to Helm's Deep, for example. I could set that, and it would pinpoint maybe in different colors so you could see the different routes. Or if there's only one, there'd only be one. A little star or a number, 1, 2, 3, whatever, and it would show which crossings or tunnels lead to that area. Now, obviously, you have to decide yourself which direct path you're going to take. You know, it's not going to map you the exact tile or maybe give you like the most like efficient route. But it would just be interesting to see if there was some kind of a mapping helpful feature, especially being newer to the game, if you are new to the game, or if you're just playing as a new faction. You know, if I haven't played down here on the south side of the map really at all, so when I am down here all of a sudden, it's like, man, I haven't been through here yet. I'm more familiar with the territory up here. more familiar with the Misty Mountains, things like that. But you get down here, and I think, again, I don't think it would be game breaking. It would just allow players to kind of be more educated with where they're going and what they're doing, which I think would be kind of, I think it would be very, very helpful to allow players to do that. So that's the 5th quality of life thing that I would like to see in the game. Now, again, I don't think any of these things are make or break for the game, but I think all of them, in my opinion, would add a quality to the game, not mechanically changing a whole lot. You can make an argument for a couple of them being a little bit more, having more of an effect on the actual game. But for the most part, I think these would just make it more enjoyable to play. When you're doing things that you already do on a day-to-day basis, if they make it more enjoyable to do, players are going to have a better time when they're playing. And to me, that makes a lot of sense. So I would just love to see some of these things happen if possible. So let me know down in the comments below if you like these things, if you don't like them. Are there bigger quality of life things that I missed that are an absolute must right now? Or are you in the boat of just like, I don't want quality of life, I want actual game fixes, I want balance, which I'm there with you too. More than anything, I do want server balance. So if none of these should come at the cost of actual things happening like server balance in the game that actually I think is harmful to the game when servers are unbalanced. But in addition to server balance, I think there are some quality of life things that shouldn't be that hard to just enable a feature on the forts that lets us rename them, or just enable a feature to do custom. These are very simple things in my mind. I'm not a coder. I don't know for sure, but now we're rambling. Anyway, let me know down in the comments what you think. And as always, I'll see you all in a future video.